Until now, we focused a lot on stuff that industrial designers might draw. Stuff like this can, or this glass, this controller, this coffee foamer, this box, this monitor, this chair. But what about stuff that is more organic in shape? How do we draw those? How do we draw something like a paprika? In our previous video, we were talking about how you can build everything with a square or a rectangular prism, a cylinder, and a sphere. And I mostly went into talking about the square and the cylinder and how we can use them and how important it is to be able, first of all, to draw in 3D space, so to understand perspective, but also to rotate these shapes around in perspective, and then how to cut and shape and how to change these forms in many ways. So here I drew another little box, and based on what we were talking about last time, I just made a little bit of a jump out here. And what we're going to talk about this week is I'm going to draw two section lines here, and I'm just going to draw a curve here and a curve here, and they intersect there. And then I'm just going to draw a nice curve that goes around the whole object just like this. And then we can see that I nicely rounded off the top of this box and created a more complex object. But what's happening here, that I can easily explain with a sphere, which we didn't talk about last time so much. But we will also have to go back a little bit into perspective and into planes in 3D space. So how I draw spheres usually is just I draw a circle, and then I draw two intersecting lines, which on the circle will be obviously two ellipses. So this would be my sphere. And why do people read this as a sphere? It's because these two ellipses are on two planes that are intersecting. So basically what I'm drawing here is, let's say this is one plane. So I just draw a plane here, and this is intersecting with another plane which is in 90 degrees. And then I place an ellipse onto both of these planes in such a way that they touch. And then if I draw an ellipse around these, then I sort of have a sphere, right? It's a very rough one, but that's what spheres are. And this is what we're going to use a lot today, these intersecting planes. And in 3D you will have to use a lot of these just to explain many things to you. So let's come back to what we did here in the beginning. I'm going to take this plane on this top plane, and I'm going to redraw it here, this being our top plane. And now, to replicate what we have there, I am going to give it 1 and 2 section lines. And I'm going to take a color. So I'm going to come to my colors here. I'm going to take a blue, and I'm going to turn this section line into an intersection line. So I'm going to draw a plane which is perpendicular. That's the word I was looking for. Perpendicular onto our horizontal plane here. So this is a 90-degree angle, right? And I'm going to take two other planes, but this time with orange, just to create two more section lines here. 1, 2, and both of these section lines will be intersection lines, come on, it's not so hard, with these planes, which are also at a 90-degree angle, so perpendicular. There we go, and there we have our other two planes. Now, I'm going to draw two smaller lines here, which are not lines but curves, 1, 2, and I'm going to go back to my blue, and I'm going to draw a slightly bigger curve, just like that. Now, what I'm going to do is go to my purple and go to a little bit stronger pencil. There we go. And I'm going to transform the central line. So this section line I'm also turning into a perpendicular intersection line with a perpendicular plane. So not a perpendicular intersection line, but a perpendicular plane. So there we go. And now you can see that these lines intersect down here, so I can bring just a section line to the top of each. And at these points, I'm going to draw another curve, but this time on this purple plane. Oh, it went a little bit high there. Should get done something like that. So let me rotate this so it's more in the way of my hand. There we go. So I think that sort of does it. And now I'm just gonna come in with a black color and go over these. So we had one, let me repeat that, 1, 2, 3, I can do it a bit nicer, that was the 3, and the 4 was this. So basically we have 4 planes intersecting, and we drew these curves onto the intersection lines. I could also do the 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just to make sure where also these planes are intersecting, there's like 1, 2, and 3. And now what I'm gonna do, I'm going back to my original plane, the horizontal one. I'm gonna make sure to curve it just nicely, so take away that sharp edge, and I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. And I'm going to draw a nice closing curve around it. This is something that you know also from rounding corners and edges in boxes. Not just boxes, but rectangular prisms. We did this in a previous video, so you should be familiar with that one. And here I'm just gonna close it like that as well. And as you can see here, we constructed this relatively complex shape. It's more of a smooth organic shape that you have to really construct and work on it a little bit. But let me just repeat this, and without the planes, because these planes you have to keep in mind, but you don't always have to draw them. So we have this little rectangular prism here. I'm gonna do one section line, and I'm gonna section these planes again. Now, well, not planes, those areas. Now, imagine these are the planes that we created, and I'm not gonna draw the planes, I'm just gonna indicate them very vaguely. Okay, and then on these planes, we're going to create our curves. If you want to help with a curve, you can add like a center line, and then the curve comes like something like that. Same here, let's add a center line, and this center line, now we're drawing on each layer or each plane separately, comes like that. Same here, I'm gonna skip the center line now, and I'm gonna do an even stronger curve here, something like this. Center lines will help me because now I want to connect all of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me zoom out. So this connection would probably come something like this. Let me draw this again. There we go. Just like before, we're going to make sure that the outer line is closed as well. And I'm not going to end it there because first I want to round these corners, around this corner as well. And then I take this here to the back and replicate it there. So let's round that corner. There we go. Make sure that the line is a bit stronger so it pops better. Here as well. There we go. Now I can make this outer line a little bit stronger as well. And now I'm just connecting this here. Boom. So something like this. And now, as you can see, we created another quite complex looking shape. And what sells us on this shape are these 1, 2, 3, and let me call this number 4, these ribs. I don't know if they're ribs or not, but they are sort of like when we have the section line on our plane objects, these are section lines, but then in 3D and on more organic objects. And these ribs are used all over the world. So if I bring, let me take away the colors, and if I show you this here, as you can see, these ribs are perfectly visible. Let me switch to a red one. If I draw over these, you can only see the ribs of the airplane, but what your brain does that your brain connects this together into a ready-made airplane wing. And if I just go over very quickly with these and I turn it off, see, it is an airplane wing. And this is what your brain does. This is why it's good to make these. The same thing here. These are all filled out objects within your head. And same here with the car. Oh, sorry about that. Same here with the car. It really, you can see how the surface goes there. And before I go on, let us return here. And we worked with the rectangular prisms. Now let's do the same with our cylinders. Let me switch back to my drawing pen. Okay, now a cylinder can have a top and the bottom ellipse. We connect those two. And now, just like before, I'm going to do one section line, which is a section ellipse, another one, and another one. And all of these are on their own, I don't want to say layers, but planes. So which means I'm going to draw a bigger ellipse around this one, and then even bigger around this one, and then a smaller around this one. And now I'm just going to do the outer, well, basically what we can do is cut these into half, like that, and connect them with a line. And I'm doing the same on this side. And now we have another complex object that usually you wouldn't be able to draw otherwise. And I'm going to make these section lines, or front of these ellipses, I'll call them as well, a little bit stronger, just so the readability is better, because also we want these ribs that we mentioned. And you can go also the other way around here. So you can say, okay, this cylinder has a center line, right? So I can draw the center line first and I can bend it. And I can say, okay, there's a rib or an ellipse here, another one here, another one there, another one there, and then one final one here. And this already gives you an idea. I can double these cylinders and then it will be even clearer. And now I can just connect them on the outside and you have your complex shape. And let me go back to our wireframe examples. As you can see, this deer does exactly that. Let me switch to the red again. So we have an ellipse here, an ellipse there, an ellipse there, one here, one here, one here. And then obviously we also have the ones at the legs. But your brain fills out all this information for you. So that's the value. Same here with the car. You have all these nice complex shapes that is just shown and explained by a couple of lines, nothing more. Just a couple of lines tells you what you have to do. So let me take these away. Let's come back to our examples. And what I want to do is the next time we're going to go a little bit more into intersection and planes and whatnot as well. But this time around, I just want to show you how to draw a simple organic object. And for that, I'm going to draw paprika, just as in the intro. I like, as you know me, I like to create this little box where I will put whatever I draw into, just because then I know where the boundaries are and I know stuff. But you don't have to do that. You can go straight with a cylinder as well. And the paprika is a bit tapered, so it's a bit wider on the top and a bit more narrow on the bottom. But you can also go with straight up 3 little cylinders, well, not little, but narrower cylinders. Let me just paste in here because I found this picture on the internet and I just like this paprika. So I thought, okay, let me draw that paprika. So it has 1, 2, 3 bigger cylinders. So that's 1, 2, and then 3 in the back. And if this comes down, we're going to have 1 cylinder, 2 cylinder and the third one there in the back, as you can see. And now what we have to do is also go back to our sphere a little bit. Oh, not zoom in, just go back. And we take the ends of these cylinders and I just kept them. So I make them like quarter, or I just make them like if they were spheres. I give them this ending there, and I do the same thing with the top ones. So I give them this top here as well and there as well. Now in the middle I can erase it a bit, because that's where I call it the handle of the paprika might come. And that we basically do like we just learned. So we have a center, and then we have 2 endings here, and then you can put a couple in there and just connect them like that, right? And then you will have the green going into all sorts of directions there. What's important now is you could do a couple of section ellipses as well, just so you can communicate your form a little bit more. So I'll do one here as well, and then one back there. And I'm going to make, as you can see here, the shape is a little bit irregular. So I'm going to make sure that my shape is a little bit irregular as well. Just like that. We have a bulge down there. And here I want to make sure that the upper area is definitely bigger. There we go. So that's my upper area. Just come around, just like that. And this is the drawing part. The construction here is mostly done. What I'm going to do in the construction is I'm just going to make these section lines a little bit stronger. We want these ribs to be visible, and here you just make a nice rounding in between them. So you make sure that they don't touch there. Same here, rib, rib, rounding, and then rounding here as well. And you can do the same here on the bottom, just make it a bit more visible there, and then make sure this side is also nicely drawn out with nicer lines. There we go. Bottom lines can always be a bit darker because we're in shadow there, right? And also add a little bit of shadow just there. And you can also do these here, and then also on this side, and make sure that the back punch is visible. Now these are also more irregular than simple spheres, so it's up to you to, you can play around a little bit. There we go. But basically this is the organic shape that we just drew. And with that, I'm going to end this video. I hope you learned something new. I hope you like this. You can go out now and draw all the paprikas in the world. But yeah, in general, the takeaway is that you can apply this to almost any organic and more complex shapes as well. And next time, when we come back to drawing anything with basic shapes, we will talk really about putting together more complex objects, just like we did in the first video, but this time around with more rounded and more organic looking shapes to them as well. So thanks for taking a look at this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it and learned something new. Take care of yourselves, enjoy yourselves, and see you next time. Bye bye.